Billionaire CEO hires selfless chef, sees her true worth and falls deeply in love. The morning fog clung to San Francisco's skyline, shrouding the gleaming tech towers in a soft haze while the streets below stirred to life. In the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood, far from the polished corridors of Silicon Valley, Zara Johnson's alarm blared at 4:30 a.m. She silenced it quickly, that glancing at her brother Jamal, who slept on the pull-out couch across their small apartment. At 14, he was all gangly limbs and potential, his textbooks still scattered on the coffee table from last night's study session. Zara watched him for a moment, his peaceful breathing a stark contrast to the weight on her shoulders. Another day, she whispered to herself, padding quietly to the bathroom. By 5:15, she was on the bus heading downtown, her chef's whites neatly folded in her backpack. The Golden Spoon awaited, one of San Francisco's trendiest restaurants, where tech executives and venture capitalists dropped hundreds on dinner without blinking while discussing their latest funding rounds. Chef Donovan greeted her with barely a nod as she entered through the back door. "Prep list is longer today. VIP dinner tonight. Don't fall behind." "Yes, chef," Zara replied, tying her apron with practiced efficiency. Her hands moved with precision as she chopped, seared, and plated throughout the day. Despite only being a line cook, her culinary school training showed in every dish she touched. Chef Donovan knew it too, though he'd never admit it, not when he could pay her far less than she was worth. The dinner service was a blur of orders and controlled chaos. Zara moved like water through the kitchen, stepping in wherever needed, earning grudging nods from the sous chef. By 11, the last customers were lingering over dessert, and she began the meticulous cleanup that would take another hour. "Johnson," Chef Donovan called as she wiped down her station. "Table 9 sent back the halibut. Perfectly good. Toss it." Zara nodded, taking the untouched plate. But instead of scraping it into the trash, she carefully placed it in a container and tucked it into her bag when no one was looking. She added rolls that would be stale by morning, a portion of risotto that hadn't been served, and vegetables that would otherwise be discarded. At midnight, she slipped out the back door into the alley. The cold air bit at her face as she scanned the shadows. "Marcus," she called softly. A figure emerged from behind the dumpster, an elderly black man with a weathered face and dignified bearing despite his ragged clothes. A veteran's cap sat atop his gray hair. "Evening, chef," he said, his voice warm but rough. "Didn't expect to see you tonight." Zara smiled, handing him the container. "Can't let good food go to waste. There's enough for you and maybe Gloria and Tom if they're at the underpass tonight." Marcus accepted the food with a nod. "God bless you, child. You're gonna get yourself in trouble one of these days." "Only if I get caught," she replied with a wink. "How's the leg?" "Same as yesterday. Better than tomorrow will be," he chuckled, then grew serious. "You look tired, Zara. That brother of yours doing okay?" "Jamal's good. Science competition coming up. He's working on something with magnets that I pretend to understand." Her smile was genuine despite her exhaustion. Neither noticed the man watching from a car across the street, his silhouette barely visible behind tinted windows. Back inside, Zara was wiping down the last counter when Chef Donovan appeared, his eyes narrowing as they swept over her station. "Where's the halibut from table 9? He asked, voice dangerously quiet. Zara's heart skipped. "Thrown out, chef, like you asked?" He studied her face, unconvinced. "Funny, I didn't see it in the trash. I used the disposal," she lied smoothly. He leaned closer. "Listen carefully, Johnson. I've heard rumors about food walking out of my kitchen. That stops now. This isn't a charity. One more incident, and you're done. Understood?" "Yes, chef," she replied, meeting his gaze steadily despite the fear coiling in her stomach. The bus ride home was nearly empty at 1 a.m. Zara leaned her head against the window, calculating bills in her mind. Rent due next week. Jamal's school trip deposit. The electric bill marked final notice. Her grandmother's medical debt still looming large 2 years after her death. The apartment was dark when she returned, but a small lamp clicked on as she entered. "You should be asleep," she said, finding Jamal at the kitchen table, textbook open. "Wanted to finish this chapter." He yawned, his young face serious beyond his years. "You look beat, Z." "I'm fine." She ruffled his hair, noticing how he was nearly her height now. "How was school?" "Got an A on my physics test." He shrugged like it was nothing, but his smile gave him away. "Mr. Brennan says I should apply for the summer program at Berkeley." Zara's heart swelled and sank simultaneously. Pride in his brilliance, dread at another expense she couldn't afford. "That's amazing, Jay. We'll figure it out." She always said that, and somehow, they always did. As Jamal finally went to bed, Zara sat at their small kitchen table, counting out tips, barely enough to cover groceries for the week. On the refrigerator, held by a magnet, was a college brochure. Jamal thought she hadn't seen him hide there. "One day," she whispered, touching the glossy paper. "One day." The following evening at the Golden Spoon, a man sat alone in the corner booth, partially hidden by an arrangement of orchids. Alexander Whitfield, though he preferred Alex, studied the room with quiet intensity. At 38, he carried success like a second skin. Tailored navy suit, subtle platinum watch, the easy confidence of someone who'd built something from nothing. Whitfield Innovations occupied 3 gleaming buildings in the heart of San Francisco's tech corridor. His software solutions had revolutionized supply chain management, earning him billions and a spot on the cover of Forbes. Yet tonight, his attention wasn't on acquisition targets or quarterly projections. It was on Zara Johnson. He'd noticed her 3 visits ago, not for her beauty, though that was undeniable, but for a moment of kindness. She'd helped an elderly customer who'd dropped her cane, kneeling beside the woman with genuine concern, while other staff merely watched. There was something in that gesture, a humanity that seemed rare in his world of calculated transactions. "Your usual, Mr. Whitfield?" The server appeared, breaking his reverie. "Yes, thank you, David." Alex smiled politely. "And I'd like to compliment the kitchen tonight. Everything was exceptional." "I'll pass that along, sir." Alex returned to his observation as the dinner service wound down. He watched Zara move through the dining room, clearing plates with efficient grace. There was pride in her work, despite it being far beneath her skills. He'd done his research. Culinary Institute of America graduate, scholarship student. Former sous chef at a respected Oakland restaurant before it closed. Now she worked for Chef Donovan, whose reputation for brilliance was matched only by his notorious temper. His phone buzzed. Ethan Park, his chief of staff, texting an update about tomorrow's board meeting. Alex replied briefly, then slipped the phone away. Business could wait. Near midnight, he settled his bill and left a generous tip. But instead of heading to the waiting car, he instructed his driver to circle the block. Something told him to wait. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, Zara emerged from the back alley, her shoulders relaxing as she walked toward the bus stop. Alex watched as she checked her phone, her expression tightening at whatever she saw there. "Follow her," he told his driver, discreetly. The car trailed the bus at a distance, eventually stopping near a rundown apartment building in Bayview. Alex watched Zara hurry inside, her exhaustion evident even from a distance. "Same place as yesterday," his driver noted. "Yes." Alex sat back, mind working. "Let's go home, James." Back in his penthouse overlooking the bay, Alex poured himself a scotch and opened his laptop. The search results for Zara Johnson filled the screen. Articles from her culinary school graduation, her grandmother's obituary from 2 years ago, her brother's science fair victory last spring. A knock at the door preceded Ethan's entrance. At 32, Ethan was the perfect counterbalance to Alex. Organized where Alex was visionary, practical where Alex was idealistic. "It's midnight," Ethan observed, setting down a folder. "Board presentations ready for review." "Thanks." Alex gestured to the screen. "What do you know about the Golden Spoon's kitchen staff?" Ethan raised an eyebrow but adapted seamlessly to the change in subject. "Chef Donovan runs a tight ship, high turnover, questionable labor practices that skirt the edge of legality." He studied Alex's expression. "Why the interest in a line cook?" "She's more than that." Alex turned the screen. Culinary Institute graduate, raising her brother alone. Grandmother died of cancer 2 years ago, leaving them with medical debt. "And you know this because?" "I've been watching her. There's something there, Ethan. Talent, integrity." Alex leaned forward. "She sneaks food out to the homeless every night, despite the risk to her job." Ethan's expression softened slightly. "Admirable. But what's your interest here, Alex? New charitable cause? Restaurant investment? I'm not sure yet." Alex closed the laptop. "But I want to know more." Discreetly. Of course. Ethan nodded, used to his boss's occasional fixations. I'll have a full profile by morning. After Ethan left, Alex stood by the window watching fog roll across the bay. His mind returned to Zara. Her careful movements, the weight she carried, the kindness she couldn't seem to suppress despite her circumstances. In his world of tech innovations and venture capital, genuine compassion was rare. People helped others for tax benefits, social capital, or brand enhancement, calculated giving. But Zara's actions came with real risk and no reward beyond knowing she'd done right. It fascinated him. She fascinated him. Morning came too quickly for Zara. Jamal was already up, making instant oatmeal on their hot plate. You didn't have to do that, she yawned, reaching for the coffee he'd also prepared. You got in late. He shrugged. Science club meeting today. Might not be home till 6. Text me when you're on your way. She sipped the coffee gratefully. I'm picking up an extra shift. We need the hours. Jamal's face fell slightly. The electricity bill? Don't worry about it. She forced a smile. It's handled. It wasn't, but she'd figure it out. She always did. The morning bus was crowded with commuters heading downtown. Zara squeezed in, clutching her bag, mind already on the day ahead. Chef Donovan's warning echoed in her thoughts. She couldn't lose this job, not with Jamal's future hanging in the balance. But she couldn't stop helping Marcus and the others either. Not when she saw how much food was wasted every night while people went hungry just blocks away. As the bus crawled through traffic, she didn't notice the sleek black car that followed at a distance, or the man inside whose interest in her would soon change everything. The kitchen of the Golden Spoon hummed with controlled chaos as lunch service hit its peak. Zara moved with practiced precision, her knife flashing through vegetables, while she monitored 3 pans on the stove. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the industrial ventilation. Johnson, Table 12's risotto is dying in the window. Chef Donovan barked from across the kitchen. Yes, chef. She grabbed the plate, adding a final flourish of microgreens before sending it out. 6 hours into her shift, with 6 more to go, Zara's thoughts drifted to Jamal. Today was his science club presentation. Something about electromagnetic fields that he'd explained with shining eyes while she'd nodded, pretending to understand the complex theories that came so naturally to him. Her brother had their grandmother's mind, sharp, analytical, hungry for knowledge. Grandma Rose had been a high school science teacher for 40 years before cancer took her, leaving Zara to raise Jamal alone at 24. The medical bills had drained what little savings they had, forcing Zara to abandon her dreams of opening her own restaurant to take whatever cooking jobs paid the bills. Focus, Johnson, Chef Donovan snapped, jolting her back to the present. You're burning the reduction. She quickly salvaged the sauce, adding a splash of stock to balance the flavors. Chef Donovan watched with narrowed eyes before moving on to terrorize another cook. His reputation for perfectionism had earned the Golden Spoon 3 stars and a waiting list months long. It had also earned him the highest staff turnover rate in the city. Across town at Whitfield Innovations, Alex sat in his corner office, the San Francisco skyline spread before him like a living map. The glass and steel campus he'd built from his first successful software launch housed over 500 employees, though few ever saw the founder himself. Alex preferred working behind the scenes, letting his innovations speak for themselves. Ethan entered without knocking, tablet in hand. Full background on Zara Johnson, as requested. Alex gestured to the chair opposite his desk. Tell me. 26 years old. Raised by her grandmother after parents died in a car accident when she was 12. Brother Jamal, 14, shows exceptional aptitude in physics and engineering. Ethan swiped through documents. Graduated top of her class from Culinary Institute on scholarship. Was sous chef at Oakwood Bistro until it closed 2 years ago, same time her grandmother died of pancreatic cancer. The medical debt? Substantial. Rose Johnson had limited insurance. Zara's been paying it off monthly while supporting Jamal. Ethan's expression softened slightly. Kid's brilliant. Perfect grades despite their circumstances. Alex nodded, processing. And the food donations? Started about a year ago. Consistent pattern. She takes leftovers to various homeless individuals in the area, primarily an elderly veteran named Marcus Washington, 68. Former Army sergeant, lost his housing after medical bankruptcy 3 years ago. Ethan looked up. She's risking her job every night. Why? Alex asked, though the question was more for himself than Ethan. Some people just can't help themselves, Ethan replied with a small smile. Reminds me of someone else I know. Alex shot him a look. They both knew Alex's philanthropy, while substantial, was carefully managed and strategically deployed. Nothing like Zara's impulsive generosity. There's more, Ethan continued. Chef Donovan has been watching her. Restaurant cameras caught her last night. He's documented 3 incidents now. Alex frowned. She's about to lose her job. Likely. And with their financial situation, Ethan let the implication hang. Alex stood, moving to the window. Below, employees crossed the campus courtyard, heading to the subsidized organic cafeteria or one of the meditation gardens he'd installed to boost well-being and productivity. What are you thinking? Ethan asked, recognizing the look on his boss's face. I'm not sure yet. Alex turned. But I want to meet her, properly. That evening, as dinner service wound down at the Golden Spoon, Zara received an unusual request. Table 9 wants to compliment the chef on the special, the server said, looking confused. They specifically asked for you, not Chef Donovan. Zara glanced toward the corner booth, where a man sat alone, his face partially obscured. That's not protocol. Chef Donovan handles guest interactions. Chef's in his office on a call. Said to handle it. The server shrugged. Wiping her hands on her apron, Zara made her way through the dining room, conscious of eyes following her. Line cooks rarely emerged from behind the scenes. As she approached table 9, the man looked up and Zara felt a jolt of recognition. She'd seen him before. A regular who always sat alone, always ordered the same thing, always left a generous tip. You wanted to see me? She asked, maintaining professional distance. I did. He stood, offering his hand. Alexander Whitfield. The halibut was exceptional. Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. She shook his hand briefly, noting the firm grip and the expensive watch on his wrist. But I should mention that Chef Donovan designs all the specials. I just execute his vision. With remarkable skill. His green eyes studied her with unexpected intensity. Your technique with the herb crust was perfect. CIA training shows. Zara stiffened slightly. You know I went to the Culinary Institute? A slight smile touched his lips. I make it my business to know talented people, Miss Johnson. Warning bells rang in Zara's mind. This wasn't a casual compliment from a satisfied customer. This man, this very wealthy man, judging by his suit and manner, knew who she was. I appreciate the compliment, but I should get back to the kitchen. She took a step back. Of course. He reached into his jacket, producing a business card. But if you're ever interested in discussing other opportunities, please call me directly. Zara accepted the card automatically, glancing down at the embossed lettering. Alexander Whitfield, founder and CEO, Whitfield Innovations. I'm not looking to leave the culinary field, she said carefully. I'm not suggesting you should. His expression remained unreadable. Just keeping options open. Good evening, Miss Johnson. Back in the kitchen, Zara slipped the card into her pocket, mind racing. Why would a tech billionaire be interested in a line cook? The interaction left her unsettled, but she had no time to dwell on it as Chef Donovan emerged from his office, face thunderous. Johnson. My office. Now. Now. Her stomach dropped as she followed him into the small room lined with cookbooks and awards. On his desk sat a tablet displaying security footage of her, the previous night, handing food to Marcus in the alley. Explain this, he demanded, voice dangerously quiet. Zara's mind raced as she stared at the damning footage. There was no point denying what was clearly visible. It was going to be thrown away, she said, keeping her voice steady. Food that was perfectly good. That's not your decision to make. Chef Donovan's face flushed with anger. That food, even as waste, is the property of the Golden Spoon. Do you have any idea what would need happen if someone got sick? The liability? The reputation damage? No one's getting sick from properly handled food, Chef. Don't get smart with me, Johnson. He leaned forward. I run a business, not a soup kitchen. This stops now or you're done. Final warning. Zara swallowed hard. Yes, Chef. Get back to work. And I'm docking your pay for the estimated value of what you've taken. The injustice of it burned, but Zara nodded and returned to her station, the weight of Alexander Whitfield's business card suddenly heavy in her pocket. Later that night, as she cleaned her station, her phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. Coming home now. Got first place in the science fair. Mr. Brennan says I should apply for the summer program at Berkeley. Pride swelled in her chest, momentarily displacing her worries. Her brother was going places, if she could just keep them afloat long enough to get him there. But as she finished closing duties, another text came through. Z, the electricity got shut off. I'm at Marcus's spot using his phone. What should I do? Her heart sank. The final notice hadn't been a bluff after all. She quickly texted back. Stay there. I'll come get you after work. We'll figure it out. But how? Her next paycheck was a week away, and now reduced by Chef Donovan's penalty. The rent was due in 3 days, and Jamal needed proper lighting to study, not to mention heat in the increasingly cool spring evenings. As she left through the back door, she paused, staring at the dumpster full of perfectly good food. For the first time in a year, she walked past without taking anything, the security camera's red light blinking accusingly above. She found Jamal and Marcus huddled under the overpass, the older man sharing his small propane heater with her brother. Jamal's science fair medal glinted in the dim light. I'm sorry, Z. Jamal said immediately, his young face creased with worry. I should have reminded you about the bill. This isn't on you, she said firmly, hugging him close. I'm so proud of you. First place, that's amazing. Marcus watched them with kind eyes. Boy's got a good head on his shoulders. Explained his whole project to me. Something about using magnets to clean up oil spills. Electromagnetic separation of petroleum contaminants from water, Jamal corrected with a small smile. It's still just a prototype. It's brilliant is what it is, Marcus said. You two can stay with me tonight if you need. It ain't much, but it's dry. Zara shook her head. We'll be okay. I've got some cash for a motel tonight, and I'll get the electricity sorted tomorrow. It was a lie. The cash was meant for groceries, but she couldn't have Jamal sleeping rough. As they walked away, Zara felt Marcus watching them, his concern palpable. She'd helped him so many times, and now he wanted to help her. The role reversal stung her pride. The motel was cheap and dingy, but it had electricity and hot water. While Jamal showered, Zara sat on the bed and finally pulled out Alexander Whitfield's business card. The embossed lettering caught the light as she turned it over in her hands. Just keeping options open, he'd said. What options could a tech billionaire possibly offer a chef? It made no sense, unless her cheeks burned at the implication. She wasn't naive. Wealthy men had made offers before, thinly veiled propositions disguised as opportunities. Was that what this was? She was about to toss the card when her phone buzzed with a bank alert. Account balance $27.43. Not enough for the electricity deposit. Not enough for next week's rent. Not enough to keep Jamal's dreams alive. With a deep breath, she dialed the number. Across the city, Alex was reviewing quarterly projections when his private line rang. Few people had this number. He answered immediately. Whitfield. Mr. Whitfield, this is Zara Johnson, from the Golden Spoon. Alex sat up straighter, signaling to Ethan, who was across the room, to give him privacy. Miss Johnson, I'm glad you called. You said something about opportunities, she said, her voice carefully neutral. I'd like to hear more. Of course. Alex chose his words carefully. I have a proposition that might interest you. A legitimate business opportunity, he added, sensing her hesitation. Would you be available to meet tomorrow? Say noon at the Ferry Building? A pause. I can do that. Excellent. I look forward to it. After she hung up, Alex turned to find Ethan watching him with raised eyebrows. She called, Ethan observed. Something's happened, Alex replied. The timing's too convenient. Ethan nodded, already tapping on his tablet. I'll find out. The next morning, Zara woke early in the motel room, Jamal still sleeping soundly beside her. She slipped out to get them breakfast from a nearby cafe, stretching her remaining dollars as far as they would go. As they ate, she studied her brother. At 14, he was all potential. Brilliant mind, kind heart, the same determination that had characterized their grandmother. He deserved better than this precarious existence. I have a meeting today, she told him. Might be a job opportunity. Jamal looked up, surprised. You're leaving the Golden Spoon? Maybe. I don't know yet. She hesitated. Things are tight right now, Jay. Tighter than I've let on. His young face grew serious. I know, Z, I'm not a kid anymore. I see the bills, the notices. I know you skip meals sometimes so I can eat. The observation startled her. She thought she'd hidden it better. I could get a job, he offered. After school, weekends. Absolutely not. Her tone brooked no argument. Your job is school, that science program at Berkeley. That's your focus. I'll handle the rest. But, no buts. She squeezed his hand. We're a team, right? I've got this part. You focus on building that brilliant future of yours. At noon, Zara arrived at the ferry building, its iconic clock tower standing tall against the blue sky. The marketplace inside bustled with tourists and locals alike. Artisanal food stalls offering everything from fresh oysters to handcrafted chocolates. Alexander Whitfield waited at a small table outside Hog Island Oyster Co., looking surprisingly casual in dark jeans and a gray sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He stood as she approached. Miss Johnson, thank you for coming. He gestured to the chair opposite him. I took the liberty of ordering a selection. I hope you don't mind. A platter of fresh oysters sat between them, along with crusty sourdough bread and a bottle of sparkling water. No alcohol. A point in his favor. Thank you, she said, sitting down cautiously. But I should be clear up front, Mr. Whitfield. If this is anything other than a professional opportunity, I'm not interested. His expression registered surprise, then understanding. I assure you, Miss Johnson, my interest is strictly in your professional capabilities, nothing more. She studied him, looking for signs of insincerity but finding none. All right, I'm listening. I've been watching you, Alex began, then immediately held up a hand at her alarmed expression. Professionally, at the Golden Spoon, your technique, your efficiency, the way you elevate even simple dishes. Zara relaxed slightly but remained wary. Most people don't notice line cooks. I'm not most people, he smiled briefly. I also noticed your extracurricular activities, helping the homeless man in the alley. Her spine stiffened. How did you? I make it my business to observe. It's how I built my company. Alex leaned forward. What interests me is that you risk your job every night to help others. That kind of integrity is rare. It's not integrity, Zara countered. It's basic human decency. The food was going to waste while people go hungry. Simple as that. Alex studied her for a moment. Chef Donovan caught you. It wasn't a question. Zara's eyes narrowed. You've been investigating me. I have, he admitted without apology. I wanted to understand who you are before making my offer. Which is what exactly? Alex took a sip of water, organizing his thoughts. Whitfield Innovations is launching a new community initiative, a combination of food security programs, job training, and support services for underserved neighborhoods. I need someone to run it. Someone who understands both culinary excellence and genuine compassion. Zara blinked, caught off guard. And you think that's me? I'm a line cook, Mr. Whitfield. I don't have experience running whatever this is. You have exactly the experience I need. Formal culinary training, understanding of food costs and kitchen management, and most importantly, a genuine desire to help others. He slid a folder across the table. The position comes with a substantial salary, benefits, and creative control over program development. Zara opened the folder, and her breath caught. The salary listed was triple what she made at the Golden Spoon. Health insurance, retirement benefits, even a housing allowance. Why me? She asked, unable to keep the suspicion from her voice. There must be dozens of qualified people with actual management experience. There are, Alex acknowledged, but they don't have your heart. I've watched you, Zara. You give when you have nothing left to give. That's who I want leading this initiative. She closed the folder, mind racing. It seemed too good to be true, which meant it probably was. I need time to think about this. Of course. Alex handed her another card. My private number. Call me when you decide. But don't wait too long. Chef Donovan isn't known for second chances. As if on cue, her phone buzzed with a text from the restaurant. Don't bother coming in tonight, or ever again. Your final check will be mailed. Her face must have shown her shock because Alex's expression softened. He fired you. How did you know that would happen today? She demanded, suddenly angry. Did you have something to do with this? No, Alex said firmly. But I know how men like Donovan operate. Zero-tolerance policies make them feel powerful. He paused. I'm sorry about your job, but my offer stands. Zara stood abruptly. I need to go. Think about it, Alex called after her. This isn't charity, Zara. It's an opportunity you've earned. She walked away without looking back. The folder clutched in her hand like a lifeline she wasn't sure she should grab. Back at the motel, Jamal was working on homework when she returned. One look at her face told him everything. "You got fired," he said quietly. Zara nodded, sinking onto the bed. "Chef Donovan found out about the food." Jamal sat beside her. "What are we going to do?" She opened the folder, showing him the offer. This might be an option. His eyes widened as he read. Whitfield Innovations, the tech company? What do they want with a chef? They're starting some kind of community food program. The man I met with, Alexander Whitfield, wants me to run it. The Alexander Whitfield? Jamal looked impressed. His company developed that algorithm that revolutionized supply chain management. We studied it in computer class. He examined the offer more closely. This is amazing. Why aren't you jumping at this? Because it doesn't make sense, she said, voicing her doubts. Why would a tech billionaire hand a major program to someone with no management experience? There has to be a catch. Jamal considered this. Maybe he just recognizes talent. Or maybe... He hesitated. Maybe he's seen what you do for others and wants to help you do more of it. Since when are you so trusting? She asked with a small smile. Since we're out of options, he replied pragmatically. Look, worst case, it doesn't work out and you find another restaurant job. Best case, we can actually pay our bills and you get to help people without sneaking around. Put that way, it seemed simple. But Zara had learned early that nothing came without strings. I'll think about it, she promised. That night, after Jamal was asleep, Zara slipped out of the motel and walked to the underpass where Marcus stayed. He was awake, reading by the light of a battery-powered lamp. Thought you might come by, he said, setting his book aside. Heard about the job. News traveled fast on the streets. I got an offer, she admitted, sitting beside him on his makeshift bench. Something different. Better money, helping people like I've been trying to do, but you don't trust it, Marcus finished for her. Smart girl. World doesn't usually hand out gifts without wanting something back. Exactly, she sighed, but Jamal deserves stability. A real home, not motel rooms and cold apartments. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know, when I was in the army, my sergeant used to say something. When opportunity knocks, check who's at the door, but don't be too scared to open it. He looked at her kindly. This Whitfield fellow, what's your gut say about him? Zara considered the question. That he's used to getting what he wants, that he sees things others miss, that he's genuine maybe, but I can't figure out his angle. Maybe there isn't one, Marcus suggested. Some folks just want to do good with what they've got. In my experience, those people don't become billionaires. Marcus chuckled. Fair point. But consider this. You've been helping me for a year, asking nothing in return. Maybe some of that karma's coming back around. The next morning, Zara dialed Alex's number before she could talk herself out of it. I'll take the job, she said when he answered. But I have conditions. I'm listening, he replied, and she could hear the smile in his voice. I want creative control over the food programs. I want to hire people who need second chances. And I want a clear understanding that this is a professional relationship only. All reasonable requests, Alex agreed. When can you start? Tomorrow, she said firmly. But I need an advance on my first paycheck. Today. There was a brief pause. May I ask why? My electricity's been shut off. My brother and I are in a motel. Rent's due in 2 days. She swallowed her pride. I need to get us back on our feet before I can help anyone else. I understand. His voice softened slightly. Check your bank account in an hour. Consider it a signing bonus, not an advance. True to his word, an hour later, Zara's phone buzzed with a deposit notification that made her eyes widen. It was enough to cover the electricity deposit, back rent, and 2 months ahead. Is this for real? Jamal asked, peering over her shoulder at the screen. Apparently, she said, still stunned. Pack up, we're going home. By evening, their apartment had power again, the rent was paid, and the refrigerator held more food than they'd had in months. As Zara prepared a proper meal for the first time in their own kitchen in days, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. But as she chopped vegetables, doubt crept back in. What did Alexander Whitfield really want from her? And was she ready for whatever came next? The Whitfield Innovations campus sprawled across 3 gleaming buildings in south of Market, each a testament to Alex's vision of the future. Open spaces, sustainable design, and cutting-edge technology seamlessly integrated into every surface. Zara felt distinctly out of place as she approached the main entrance, her simple black blazer and slacks a stark contrast to the tech-casual attire of employees streaming inside. At reception, a sleek touchscreen prompted her for identification. "Zara Johnson," she said, feeling awkward. "I'm starting today. I'm supposed to meet—" "Miss Johnson," a voice interrupted her. She turned to find a slim Asian man in his early 30s approaching, tablet in hand. "Ethan Park, Mr. Whitfield's chief of staff. Welcome to Whitfield Innovations." He extended his hand, his grip firm and professional. "I'll be helping you get settled today." "Thank you," she replied, following him through security gates that opened automatically as they approached. "Mr. Whitfield is in meetings until 11, but he asked me to give you a tour and get you set up in your office." Ethan led her into an elevator that ascended silently. "How's your brother adjusting to the new circumstances?" Zara stiffened slightly. "You know about Jamal?" Ethan's expression remained neutral. "I know most things about Whitfield Innovations employees. It's my job to be thorough." Right. She wasn't sure if she should be impressed or unnerved. "Jamal's good, happy to have electricity again." "I imagine so." The elevator doors opened onto the 20th floor, revealing a corridor of glass-walled offices. "This is our Community Initiatives Division. Small but growing." He led her to a corner office with stunning views of the bay. Unlike the minimalist design of the rest of the building, this space had warm wood accents, comfortable seating, and walls painted a soft blue. "Your office," Ethan said, gesturing inside. Mr. Whitfield had it customized based on research showing that community-focused work benefits from warmer, more inviting environments. Zara stepped inside, momentarily speechless. The space was larger than her entire apartment, with a desk, conference table, and even a small kitchenette in the corner. "This is a lot," she managed finally. "The role deserves appropriate resources," Ethan replied simply. He handed her a tablet. "This is everything you need to get started: program outlines, budget parameters, potential community partners. Mr. Whitfield believes in giving his team leaders autonomy, but I'm available if you need guidance." Zara accepted the tablet, feeling increasingly overwhelmed. "What exactly am I supposed to do first?" Ethan's expression softened slightly. "Whatever you think is most important. That's why you're here." Before she could respond, the tablet chimed with a calendar notification. "Orientation meeting with department heads in 15 minutes, Ethan explained. "They're eager to meet you." The meeting room was intimidating. A long table surrounded by executives in expensive clothing, all watching her with varying degrees of curiosity and skepticism as Ethan introduced her. "This is Zara Johnson, our new Director of Community Outreach and Food Security Programs," he said smoothly. "She comes to us with extensive culinary expertise and a passion for community service." A woman with sharp features and perfectly styled blonde hair raised an eyebrow. "Culinary expertise? I wasn't aware we were opening a restaurant." Victoria Blackwell, Marketing Director, Ethan supplied quietly to Zara. "Miss Johnson will be developing our food security initiatives," a deep voice said from the doorway. Alex Whitfield entered, commanding immediate attention. "Her background is precisely what the role requires." He nodded to Zara, professional but warm. "Welcome aboard." "Thank you," she replied, straightening her spine under the scrutiny of the room. An older man with silver hair and a permanent frown leaned forward. "Alexander, while I appreciate your enthusiasm for this project, I'm concerned about bringing in someone with no corporate experience to lead such a visible initiative." "Lawrence Thornton, board member," Ethan whispered to Zara. "Your concerns are noted, Lawrence," Alex replied calmly. "But I've made my decision. Miss Johnson has my full confidence." The meeting proceeded with department updates, but Zara felt the undercurrent of tension. Victoria Blackwell kept shooting her calculating glances, while Lawrence Thornton made no effort to hide his disapproval. Afterward, Alex caught up with her in the hallway. "Don't let them intimidate you," he said quietly. "They resist anything new." "They think I don't belong here," Zara observed. "They might be right." "They're wrong." His green eyes held her steadily. "I didn't hire you on a whim, Zara. I believe in what you can do." Something in his intensity made her uncomfortable. Not in a threatening way, but in how it contrasted with her own self-doubt. I should get started then, she said, stepping back slightly. Prove you right. He nodded, seeming to understand her need for space. Ethan will help with anything you need. We'll check in at the end of the week. Over the next few days, Zara immersed herself in learning everything she could about food security programs, community kitchens, and job training initiatives. She visited local food banks, spoke with community leaders, and began drafting a comprehensive plan that would use her culinary background to create something meaningful. Jamal thrived with their new stability, throwing himself into his science projects with renewed energy. The Berkeley Summer Program application sat completed on their kitchen table, the fee no longer an insurmountable obstacle. You seem different, he observed one evening as Zara prepared dinner. A simple but elegant pasta dish that reflected her training rather than their budget constraints. Different how? She asked, grating fresh Parmesan. Lighter. Like you're not carrying the whole world anymore. He grinned. It looks good on you. She smiled, realizing he was right. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving, she was building something. But not everyone at Whitfield Innovations shared her optimism. Victoria Blackwell cornered her in the break room on her fourth day. Let me be direct, Victoria said, her voice low but sharp. Whatever game you're playing with Alex, be careful. He may be brilliant with technology, but his judgment with people is questionable. Zara set down her coffee cup. There's no game, I was hired to do a job. Victoria's laugh was cold. Please. A line cook with no management experience suddenly running a multi-million-dollar initiative? Alex may have convinced himself this is about your qualifications, but the rest of us aren't so naive. I'm sorry you feel that way, Zara replied evenly, refusing to be baited. But I intend to prove my worth through results, not office politics. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Just remember, Alex loses interest in his projects, all of them, eventually. Don't get too comfortable. As Victoria walked away, Ethan appeared, having clearly overheard. Don't let her get to you, he said, pouring himself coffee. Victoria wanted control of the community programs for the PR value. She's bitter. And Lawrence Thornton? Zara asked. Old guard, thinks community initiatives dilute the company's focus. Ethan studied her. But they're not your real concern. What is? Proving Alex right. Ethan's expression was unreadable. He's invested a lot in you. Not just money, but personal capital with the board. He rarely does that. Why did he? The question had been nagging at her since their first meeting. Ethan considered his answer carefully. Alex sees patterns others miss, with potential where others see risk. And, he hesitated, he recognizes something in you that reminds him of himself before all this. He gestured to the gleaming building around them. We couldn't be more different, Zara protested. On the surface, perhaps. Ethan smiled slightly. But you both have that same stubborn determination to do things your way, consequences be damned. By Friday, Zara had completed her initial program proposal, a 3-tiered approach that included a community kitchen offering free meals with dignity, culinary job training for unemployed residents, and a food recovery program that would redirect surplus from restaurants and grocery stores to those in need. Alex reviewed it in her office, his focus intense as he read through each section. This is excellent, he said finally, looking up. Practical, scalable, and addresses root causes, not just symptoms. Thank you, she replied, surprised by how much his approval meant to her. I especially like this. He tapped the section on the community kitchen. Restaurant-quality meals served in a dignified setting, not a soup kitchen line. That's innovative. People need more than calories, Zara explained. They need connection, respect. A good meal served with dignity can provide both. Alex studied her for a moment. You understand that from experience. It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. After our grandmother died, there were times when Jamal and I had to choose between electricity and food. We qualified for assistance, but the process was dehumanizing. I swore if I ever had the chance to do better, I would. And now you do. His smile was genuine, warming his usually reserved features. How soon can we launch the first phase? With proper funding and space? 4 weeks for the community kitchen. The job training will take longer to develop. You'll have both by Monday. He stood to leave, then paused. There's a company event tomorrow night, a fundraiser at the Exploratorium. You should come. I don't think that's necessary, she said carefully. I'm still learning the ropes. It's important for the team to see you integrated into the company, he countered. Many potential partners will be there. Good networking opportunity. She hesitated, then nodded. All right, what's the dress code? Formal. He seemed to read her thoughts. The company has an account at Neiman Marcus. Ethan will set it up for you to select something appropriate. Consider it a business expense. After he left, Zara sat back, conflicted. On one hand, the program was taking shape exactly as she'd hoped. On the other, she was increasingly aware of the complex dynamics at play. Victoria's hostility, Lawrence's disapproval, and Alex's intense interest in her success. What had she gotten herself into? The Exploratorium glittered with San Francisco's elite, tech founders, venture capitalists, and politicians mingling beneath interactive science exhibits temporarily transformed into sophisticated conversation pieces. Zara stood at the entrance, feeling like an imposter in her borrowed elegance. A midnight blue gown from Neiman Marcus that fit as though it had been made for her. Her hair swept up in a style Jamal had helped her perfect after watching tutorial videos. You look like you're planning an escape route, a familiar voice observed. Ethan appeared beside her, impeccable in a tailored suit. Relax, it's just people with too much money trying to convince each other they deserve it. Despite herself, Zara smiled. That doesn't make it less intimidating. Fair point, he offered his arm. Let me introduce you to some people who might actually be useful for your program. As they moved through the crowd, Zara felt eyes following her. Some curious, others calculating. Victoria Blackwell held court near a kinetic sculpture, her red dress a strategic splash of color in the sea of black tuxedos. She paused mid-conversation when she spotted Zara, her smile tightening. Our new community director cleans up well, Victoria remarked as they approached, her tone making the compliment feel like an insult. I hardly recognized you without a chef's coat. Thank you, Zara replied evenly. The program's coming together nicely. I'd love your marketing perspective on it sometime. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly at the professional response. Of course, though I'm quite busy with the product launch, perhaps in a few weeks. Before Zara could respond, a murmur rippled through the crowd as Alex entered. Unlike most tech CEOs who cultivated casual personas, Alex embraced formality at these events. His tuxedo perfectly tailored, his presence commanding without being showy. He moved through the room with practiced ease, stopping to speak with key figures, but clearly making his way toward their group. Miss Johnson? He greeted her, his eyes warming slightly. I'm glad you could make it. I see Ethan's making introductions. Trying to, Ethan replied dryly. Victoria was just expressing her enthusiasm for Zara's program. Alex's gaze shifted to Victoria, who maintained her perfect smile despite the tension crackling between them. Wonderful. I'm sure marketing will be instrumental in communicating our community initiatives to the public. Always happy to support your passion projects, Alex, Victoria replied smoothly. Though I was just telling Lawrence that our core business deserves priority in the current quarter. She gestured toward Lawrence Thornton, who approached with a glass of scotch in hand. The board member's expression soured as he saw Zara. Ah, the chef, he said, not bothering to hide his disdain. Enjoying your foray into corporate America? It's been illuminating, Zara replied diplomatically. I'm learning a lot. I'm sure. Lawrence turned to Alex. A word, when you have a moment. The Singapore investors are asking questions about the Q3 projections. Alex nodded. Of course. To Zara, he added, don't let these two intimidate you. The mayor's here somewhere. He'd be a good ally for your community kitchen initiative. As Alex and Lawrence moved away, Victoria's facade dropped slightly. Word of advice, she said, her voice low. Don't get too attached to your program or to Alex's attention. Neither tends to last. Is that a prediction or a threat? Zara asked quietly. Victoria's smile was sharp. Just an observation based on history. Alex gets fixated on new projects and people. Then he moves on. Ask his ex-wife. She glided away, leaving Zara unsettled. Ethan sighed beside her. Victoria excels at dropping bombs and walking away, he said. For what it's worth, she's wrong about your program. Alex is fully committed to it. And the other part? Zara couldn't help asking. Ethan hesitated. Alex's marriage ended because his wife wanted a trophy husband, not someone obsessed with changing the world. It had nothing to do with his attention span. He checked his watch. The mayor's by the pendulum exhibit. Let's make that introduction. The evening progressed with Zara meeting potential partners and donors, each conversation building her confidence. By the time she slipped away shortly before midnight, she had a list of contacts and promises of support that exceeded her expectations. Outside, waiting for the rideshare Ethan had arranged, she heard her name called. Alex approached, having apparently followed her out. "Leaving already?" he asked. "It's been a long week," she replied. "And I promised Jamal I wouldn't be too late." He nodded, understanding. "You did well in there. Made some important connections. Thanks to you and Ethan." "No," he corrected gently. "Thanks to your passion and clear vision. People respond to authenticity, Zara. It's rare in these circles." The way he looked at her, with genuine admiration rather than assessment, made something shift in her perception of him. For a moment, he wasn't Alexander Whitfield, billionaire CEO, but simply a man who believed in what she was trying to build. "Victoria mentioned your ex-wife," she said before she could stop herself. Alex's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Victoria should focus on marketing, not gossip." "I'm sorry, it's none of my business." "No, he sighed. "Catherine and I wanted different things. She wanted the lifestyle my success could provide. I wanted to use that success to make meaningful change. In the end, we couldn't reconcile those visions." The vulnerability in his admission surprised her. "Thank you for telling me." "I want you to understand something, Zara." His green eyes held hers intently. "This program, what you're building, it matters to me. Not as a tax write-off or PR move. As something real." Her rideshare arrived before she could respond, leaving her to ponder his words on the drive home. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity as Zara's program took shape. Alex secured a building in the Bayview neighborhood, a former restaurant that had sat empty for years, and renovation began immediately. Zara hired a small team, including 2 former culinary school classmates who had fallen on hard times, and Marcus, whose military experience and street knowledge proved invaluable for community outreach. Jamal thrived with their new stability, receiving his acceptance to the Berkeley summer program with whoops of joy that echoed through their apartment. For the first time in years, Zara felt like they were building something sustainable, rather than just surviving. But as the community kitchen's launch approached, resistance within Whitfield Innovations intensified. Victoria strategically delayed marketing materials, while Lawrence questioned every budget item in board meetings. Alex defended the program consistently, but the tension was palpable. "They're afraid," Ethan explained one evening as he and Zara worked late, finalizing details for the launch event. "You're changing the company's image, shifting priorities. Change threatens people who've built their power on the status quo." "I'm just trying to feed people." Zara sighed, rubbing her temples. "No, you're doing much more than that," Ethan countered. "You're proving that corporate resources can be used for genuine social good, not just tax-deductible window dressing. That's revolutionary and threatening to people like Victoria and Lawrence." The launch event was scheduled for a Friday evening, a community dinner that would showcase the program for potential partners, press, and neighborhood residents. Zara poured everything into the preparations, designing a menu that balanced nutrition with comfort, elegance with accessibility. The morning of the event, she arrived at the kitchen early to find Marcus already there, organizing volunteers. "Couldn't sleep," he explained with a shrug. "Too excited to see this place come alive." Zara smiled, surveying the transformed space. What had once been an abandoned restaurant was now a warm, welcoming environment with comfortable seating, soft lighting, and a state-of-the-art kitchen visible through glass partitions, her design choice to show respect for both the food and those who prepared it. "It's really happening," she said, still somewhat amazed. "Because of you," Marcus replied. "You took that chance, opened that door when opportunity knocked." The day progressed smoothly, with Zara's team executing her vision perfectly. By late afternoon, everything was ready, tables set, food prepped, volunteers briefed. Alex stopped by to check in, his approval evident as he toured the space. "This exceeds every expectation," he told her, genuine admiration in his voice. "You've created something extraordinary here, Zara." His praise warmed her more than it should have. Over the weeks of working together, she'd found herself increasingly drawn to his passion and vision, his unwavering support of her ideas. It was a dangerous attraction. He was still her boss, still from a world utterly different from hers, but undeniable nonetheless. "Thank you for giving me the chance," she replied, maintaining professional distance despite the pull she felt toward him. "I'll see you tonight," he promised, heading back to the office for meetings before the event. At 6 o'clock, with just 2 hours until the launch, disaster struck. Zara was reviewing final details with her team when the lights flickered, then went out completely. The kitchen fell silent as the refrigeration units, stoves, and ventilation systems shut down. "What happened?" she demanded, already reaching for her phone's flashlight. One of the kitchen staff returned from checking the electrical panel. "Main breakers blown. Looks like it might have been tampered with." "Tampered with?" Zara repeated, disbelief giving way to suspicion. "Call the building manager. Now." While they waited, she tried to remain calm, directing staff to keep refrigerator doors closed to maintain temperature and assessing what could be salvaged if power wasn't restored quickly. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Some people don't belong in the business world. Go back to the kitchen where you belong." A chill ran through her that had nothing to do with the darkened room. This wasn't an accident. The building manager arrived 30 minutes later, confirming her fears. "Someone deliberately overloaded the system," he reported grimly. "Cut through some wires too. This was intentional." Zara called Ethan immediately. "The power's out. Someone sabotaged the electrical system." "I'm on my way," he replied without hesitation. "Alex is in his final meeting. I'll tell him as soon as he's out." By the time Ethan arrived, Zara had formulated a contingency plan, moving what food they could to coolers with ice, setting up battery-powered lighting, and determining what could be served cold or cooked on portable butane burners. It wouldn't be the showcase she'd planned, but they could still launch. "This is more than a coincidence," Ethan said quietly as they assessed the situation. "First the marketing delays, then Lawrence's budget challenges, now this. You think someone inside Whitfield is behind this?" The idea seemed extreme, even with the tension she'd experienced. "I think someone feels very threatened by your success," Ethan replied carefully, "and by Alex's support of you." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with another text. "Check your email. Everyone will know the truth about you and Whitfield." With shaking hands, she opened her email to find a message sent to all Whitfield employees, the press list, and community partners. The subject line made her stomach drop. "Whitfield's latest acquisition, from line cook to executive partner." The email contained photos of her and Alex at various meetings, their body language manipulated to suggest intimacy, alongside a fabricated story implying she had earned her position through a personal relationship with him. The final line was the most damaging. "Sources close to Whitfield confirm this isn't the first time he's mixed business with pleasure, but it's certainly his most expensive indulgence yet." "This is insane," she whispered, showing Ethan the email. "None of this is true." Ethan's expression darkened as he read. "This has Victoria written all over it. The timing, the phrasing, it's her style." "Why would she go this far?" "Because you're succeeding where she predicted you'd fail," he replied grimly. "And because Alex values your work over hers." Zara's phone began buzzing with notifications. Staff members, community partners, even Jamal, all seeing the slanderous email. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but she forced it down. There was still a launch to salvage, still people counting on this program. "We deal with the power first," she decided, her voice steadier than she felt. "The rumors can wait." Alex arrived 30 minutes later, his expression thunderous as he surveyed the darkened kitchen and the email on his phone. "This stops now," he said, voice tight with controlled anger. "I've already called our security team to investigate the sabotage, and legal is preparing a response to this slander." "The launch?" Zara began. "We'll proceed," he finished firmly. "I'm having generators brought in. We'll be operational within the hour." True to his word, industrial generators arrived, restoring power to the essential systems. Zara's team scrambled to recover, working miracles to prepare the planned menu despite the setback. By the time guests began arriving, the space was illuminated, though the hastily installed lighting created harsh shadows rather than the warm ambiance she'd designed. The event proceeded, but the damage was done. Whispers followed Zara as she moved through the room, explaining the program to potential partners. Several press representatives asked pointed questions about her relationship with Alex, rather than focusing on the initiative itself. Even some community members seemed uncertain, eyeing her with new suspicion. Near the end of the evening, as the last guests were leaving, Zara found herself alone in the kitchen, the weight of the day finally catching up to her. The sabotage, the slanderous email, the whispers, all of it threatened not just her reputation but the program she'd poured her heart into. "Don't let them win," Alex's voice came from the doorway. He entered, loosening his tie, exhaustion evident in his features. "That's what they want, for you to give up." "Who's they?" she asked, her voice hollow. "Victoria? Lawrence? Someone else at Whitfield who thinks I don't belong?" "I'm going to find out," he promised, "and when I do, there will be consequences." "It might be too late," she said quietly. "The damage is done. People believe what they want to believe, and right now they believe I slept my way into this position." "Then we change the narrative," Alex insisted, moving closer. "We show them the truth through results. This program is too important to abandon because of office politics and slander." Zara studied him, struck by the intensity of his commitment. "Why does this matter so much to you, Alex? Really?" He was silent for a moment, considering his answer. "Because I built Whitfield Innovations to create meaningful change, not just profit. Somewhere along the way, that vision got diluted. Your program represents a return to what I always intended this company to be." The sincerity in his voice touched something in her. Despite everything, the sabotage, the rumors, the cultural chasm between them, she believed him. "Okay," she said finally. "We fight back, but how?" "We start by finding out who's behind this," he replied, determination hardening his features. "And then we make sure they can never hurt you or this program again." As they left the darkened kitchen together, neither noticed the figure watching from across the street. Chef Donovan, his expression calculating as he observed their exit. Beside him, a sleek car idled, its window lowered to reveal Victoria Blackwell's satisfied smile. "Told you it would work," she said smoothly. "The community golden girl is tarnished, and Alex's judgment is questioned. Two birds, one stone." "What about my part?" Donovan demanded. "You promised information on that investor for my new restaurant." "All in good time," Victoria replied. "This is just phase one. The real damage comes next." Back at her apartment, Zara found Jamal waiting up, his young face creased with worry. "I saw the email," he said immediately. "It's not true, is it? You and Mr. Whitfield?" "No," she assured him, sinking onto the couch. "Someone's trying to discredit me, discredit the program. Why would anyone do that?" "Because some people see kindness as weakness," she replied, thinking of Victoria's calculating eyes, Lawrence's dismissive sneer. "And because change threatens those who benefit from the status quo." Jamal sat beside her, his expression serious beyond his years. "So what are you going to do?" Zara thought of Alex's determination, of Marcus and the others who believed in the program, of the community members who had come despite the power outage and rumors. "I'm going to fight back," she said, her resolve strengthening, "because this isn't just about me anymore. It's about everyone who needs what we're building." Jamal nodded, pride evident in his eyes. "That's my sister, never backing down." As Zara finally fell into exhausted sleep that night, her phone buzzed with one final message from the unknown number. "This is just the beginning. Walk away now or watch everything you've built burn." The threat hung in the darkness, a promise of worse to come. But for the first time since the chaos began, Zara felt something beyond fear and uncertainty, a steely determination to protect what mattered, no matter the cost. The battle lines were drawn. Now she just had to figure out who exactly she was fighting. The morning after the sabotaged launch, Zara arrived at Whitfield Innovations to find the atmosphere charged with tension. Conversations stopped as she passed, replaced by whispers and sidelong glances. The slanderous email had done its damage, casting a shadow over both her reputation and the community program. In her office, Ethan waited with a grim expression and a tablet displaying various news sites. "It's hit the tech blogs," he said without preamble. "Whitfield's latest acquisition is trending. PR is in damage control mode. Zara scanned the headlines, each more sensationalized than the last. Her stomach knotted as she saw photos of herself and Alex leaving the community kitchen together, the angle and lighting suggesting intimacy where none existed. "This is insane," she muttered, setting the tablet down. "We need to issue a statement, clear this up." "Alex is already on it," Ethan replied. "But there's more. The electrical sabotage wasn't the only problem last night. Someone accessed our donor database and sent messages withdrawing funding requests. We've lost 3 major backers already." The calculated nature of the attack stunned her. This wasn't just about damaging her reputation, it was about systematically destroying the program itself. "Who would go this far?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Victoria's the obvious suspect for the email," Ethan said, lowering his voice. "But the technical aspects, the database breach, the electrical sabotage, that's beyond her skill set. She'd need help." Before Zara could respond, her office door opened and Alex entered, his expression controlled, but anger simmering beneath the surface. "Board emergency meeting in 30 minutes, he announced. "Lawrence is calling for a review of the community program's viability after last night's embarrassing technical failures and concerning leadership questions." "He wants to shut us down," Zara realized. "He wants to shut you down," Alex corrected. "The program is just collateral damage in his eyes." "What do we do?" Alex's gaze was steady. "We fight, with facts, with results, with the truth. I need everything you have on the program's impact projections, community partnerships, and the launch despite the sabotage." As Zara gathered her materials, a text from Jamal made her pause. "Someone from the Golden Spoon just called asking questions about you and Mr. Whitfield. Said they were fact-checking for a story." The pieces suddenly clicked into place. "Chef Donovan," she said aloud. "He's involved in this." Alex looked up sharply. "Your former boss? Why would he?" "Revenge," she replied, showing him the text. "He hated that I gave food to the homeless, hated losing control, and he has connections throughout the restaurant industry, including food critics who write for major publications." "And Victoria knows everyone in media," Ethan added, the connection forming. "If they're working together." "Find out," Alex instructed Ethan. "Check Victoria's communications, security footage, anything that might link them." The boardroom was a battlefield when they arrived. Lawrence Thornton at one end of the table, flanked by 2 other board members, Victoria strategically positioned nearby. Her smile was razor-sharp as Zara entered with Alex. "Ah, our community relations expert," Lawrence said, his tone making the title an insult. "Perhaps you can explain how a program that's received millions in funding managed to fail so spectacularly at its launch?" Zara felt every eye on her, judgment and curiosity in equal measure. For a moment, doubt threatened to overwhelm her. She didn't belong in this room of power players and corporate politics. Then she remembered Marcus's face as he organized volunteers, the community members who had come despite the chaos, Jamal's pride in what she was building. "The launch didn't fail," she replied, her voice steady as she took her seat. "Despite deliberate sabotage of our electrical systems and a coordinated smear campaign, we served over 200 people last night. We demonstrated exactly what this program is about: resilience, community, and refusing to let obstacles stop us from helping others." She opened her tablet, projecting images onto the screen at the front of the room. Community members sharing meals despite the harsh lighting, volunteers adapting to the challenges, the positive social media posts that had emerged despite the negative press. "This is the reality of what we accomplished," she continued, "not the fabricated scandal someone tried to create." Victoria's smile tightened. While these heartwarming anecdotes are touching, they don't address the fundamental concerns about program leadership and resource allocation. "You mean the concerns you helped manufacture?" Alex interjected, his tone dangerously calm. "Including a slanderous email sent from an IP address traced to this building?" Victoria's composure slipped momentarily before she recovered. "That's a serious accusation, Alex. Perhaps your personal investment in Ms. Johnson's success is clouding your judgment." "My investment is in this company's integrity and mission," Alex replied. "Something that seems to have been forgotten by those more concerned with protecting their fiefdoms than creating meaningful impact." Lawrence cleared his throat. regardless of who sent what email. The fact remains that this program has become a liability. The press is questioning your judgment, Alex. Donors are withdrawing. The responsible course of action is to pause the initiative until a more experienced leader can be appointed. That won't be necessary, a new voice announced from the doorway. All heads turned to see Ethan entering with Marcus, whose military bearing seemed enhanced by the crisp button-down shirt he wore in place of his usual worn jacket. "Mr. Park, this is a closed board meeting," Lawrence began, but Ethan cut him off. "The board should hear what Mr. Washington has to say before making any decisions," he said firmly, nodding to Marcus. Marcus stepped forward, his dignity commanding attention despite the unfamiliar surroundings. "My name is Marcus Washington, Sergeant, U.S. Army, retired. I've been homeless for 3 years following medical bankruptcy that cost me everything I'd built over a lifetime of service." The room fell silent as he continued, his deep voice steady. "Miss Johnson was the only person at that fancy restaurant who saw me as a human being, not a problem to be avoided. When she started this program, she hired me to help with community outreach because she recognized that my experience had value." He turned to face Lawrence directly. "Last night, I witnessed 2 people tampering with the electrical panel before the event. One was Chef Donovan from the Golden Spoon. The other was this woman." He pointed at Victoria, whose face drained of color. "That's absurd," Victoria sputtered. "I wasn't anywhere near Bayview last night." "Security footage confirms otherwise," Ethan said, sliding a tablet toward the center of the table. "As do these communications between you and Chef Donovan, planning both the electrical sabotage and the slanderous email campaign." The tablet displayed text messages, emails, and a still from security footage showing Victoria and Donovan outside the community kitchen. The evidence was damning and unequivocal. Lawrence stared at the screen, then at Victoria, his expression hardening. "Is this true?" Victoria's composure cracked entirely. The program was a waste of resources. She's a nobody, a line cook playing at corporate leadership because Alex has some white knight complex. I was protecting the company's interests. By committing corporate sabotage and defamation, Alex's voice was ice. You weren't protecting Whitfield Innovations. You were protecting your vision of it. One where community impact takes a back seat to quarterly profits and PR opportunities. He turned to the board members. "This is a defining moment for our company. We can either recommit to the values I founded this company on, innovation that creates meaningful change, or we can continue down the path of prioritizing optics over impact." The room fell silent as the board members exchanged glances. Finally, Lawrence spoke. His tone resigned. "Victoria's actions are indefensible. She'll be terminated immediately and will cooperate with any legal proceedings that follow." He turned to Zara, his expression still skeptical but less hostile. "As for the community program, I still have reservations about its scale and leadership, but in light of these circumstances, I'm willing to support its continuation with proper oversight." It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it was enough. The program would survive. As the meeting adjourned, Victoria was escorted from the building by security, her career at Whitfield Innovations over. Chef Donovan would face his own consequences. Alex had already instructed legal to pursue charges for the sabotage. In the aftermath, Zara found herself in Alex's office, the adrenaline of the confrontation finally fading. "Thank you," she said simply, "for believing in me, for fighting for the program." "You did the fighting," he replied, genuine admiration in his voice. "I just provided the battlefield." She shook her head. "It was more than that. You saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself." "I recognized a kindred spirit," Alex admitted, moving to stand by the window. "Someone who couldn't look away from problems others ignored. Someone stubborn enough to fix them, regardless of the cost." The vulnerability in his admission touched her. For the first time, she saw beyond the billionaire CEO to the man beneath, someone who had built an empire but still questioned whether he was using it for the right purposes. "What happens now?" she asked. "We rebuild," he said simply. "The program, its reputation, everything Victoria tried to destroy. It won't be easy. There are still board members who share Lawrence's skepticism, still media outlets running with the scandal angle." "I'm not afraid of hard work," Zara replied with a small smile. "And I'm definitely not afraid of skeptics." Alex studied her for a moment, something shifting in his expression. No, you're not. That's what makes you extraordinary, Zara. The way he said her name, with a mixture of admiration and something deeper, made her heart beat faster. The attraction she'd been fighting since they met suddenly seemed impossible to ignore. Alex, she began, uncertain what she even wanted to say. He took a step toward her, then stopped himself. We should focus on the program, he said, his professional mask slipping back into place. There's still much to do. The moment passed, but something had changed between them. An acknowledgement of feelings that couldn't be easily categorized or dismissed. In the weeks that followed, the community kitchen recovered from its tumultuous launch. With Victoria gone and Lawrence cautiously supportive, Zara had the freedom to implement her vision fully. The program expanded, adding culinary training classes and a food recovery network that partnered with restaurants across the city. Jamal thrived in his Berkeley summer program, his scientific brilliance earning recognition from professors who spoke of scholarships and future opportunities. The stability Zara had fought so hard to provide was finally bearing fruit. Marcus became an official program director, his experience and dignity making him the perfect bridge between corporate resources and community needs. The homeless individuals who had once been recipients of Zara's secret food donations became program participants, many finding employment through the culinary training initiative. Through it all, Zara and Alex maintained a careful professional relationship, though the undercurrent of attraction remained. They worked closely together, their shared vision for the program creating a bond that transcended their different backgrounds. One evening, as they reviewed the program's 3-month impact report in Zara's office, Alex finally broached the subject they'd been avoiding. "We need to talk about what's happening between us," he said quietly. Zara looked up from her tablet, her heart racing. "I'm not sure that's a good idea." "Probably not," he agreed with a rueful smile, "but ignoring it isn't working either." She set the tablet down, gathering her courage. "I respect you, Alex. I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, for Jamal, for this program, but I can't be another project for you to fix or save." "Is that what you think this is?" he asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "Isn't it? The struggling chef, the community program. They fit a pattern. You see problems, and you solve them. It's who you are." Alex was quiet for a moment, considering her words. "You're right that I'm drawn to solving problems. It's how I'm wired. But that's not what this is, Zara." He moved closer, his green eyes intent on hers. "From the first moment I saw you helping Marcus in that alley, I recognized something I'd lost somewhere along the way. The courage to do what's right, simply because it's right, not because it's strategic or profitable. You built all this," she gestured to the building around them. "You've helped thousands of people through your innovations. Yes, but always at a safe distance, through systems, through technology, through other people." His voice softened. "You taught me to get my hands dirty again, to see individuals, not just statistics." The sincerity in his words broke through her last defenses. "So what do we do now?" "We acknowledge what we both feel," he said simply, "and we decide together what happens next." As they stood there, the distance between them both, professional and personal, a choice crystallized for Zara. She could retreat to the safety of professional boundaries, protecting herself from the risk of opening her heart to someone from a world so different from her own. Or she could take the same leap of faith that had brought her to Whitfield Innovations in the first place, trusting that sometimes opportunity knocks for a reason. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with an alert from the community kitchen's security system. She glanced down, then looked up at Alex with alarm. "Someone's broken in," she said, already moving toward the door. The kitchen's security alarm just triggered. Whatever personal revelation had been building would have to wait. As they rushed to respond to this new threat, Zara couldn't help but wonder if their moment had passed, or if this was just another obstacle on a path they were destined to walk together. The community kitchen was eerily quiet when Zara and Alex arrived, the security lights casting long shadows across the dining area. Police officers were already on scene, speaking with the night security guard near the entrance. "Nothing appears to be stolen," the officer explained as they approached. but there's significant damage to the kitchen equipment and—" He hesitated, glancing at Zara with sympathy. "You should see for yourself." As they entered the main kitchen, Zara stopped short, her breath catching. Every surface had been vandalized, equipment damaged, food stores dumped onto the floor, and spray painted across the back wall in angry red letters, "Charity cases belong on the street." "Who would do this?" she whispered, surveying the destruction of the space she'd poured her heart into creating. Alex's expression darkened as he examined the damage. "The security cameras?" "Disabled," the officer replied. "Professionally. Whoever did this knew what they were doing." As Zara moved through the kitchen, assessing the extent of the damage, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Just heard. On my way with the team." "The program participant will be devastated," she said, picking up a shattered plate. This wasn't just a kitchen. It was a symbol of dignity, of possibility. Alex watched her, concern evident in his features. "We'll rebuild. Again." "That's not the point," she replied, frustration finally breaking through her composure. "How many times do we have to prove ourselves? How many obstacles do we have to overcome before people accept that everyone deserves respect and opportunity?" Her voice echoed in the damaged space, the question hanging unanswered between them. Alex moved closer, carefully taking the broken plate from her hands. "As many times as it takes," he said quietly. "That's the lesson I've learned from you, Zara. The work that matters is never finished. We just keep showing up, keep rebuilding, keep fighting for what's right." The simplicity of his answer cut through her anger, reminding her why she'd started this journey in the first place. Not because it would be easy, but because it was necessary. The kitchen door swung open as Marcus arrived with several program participants and volunteers, their faces reflecting shock at the destruction, but determination to help. "Thought you might need some hands," Marcus said, rolling up his sleeves. "We can have this place cleaned up by morning." One by one, more people arrived. Kitchen staff, community members, even some of Whitfield's employees who had heard about the vandalism through social media. What had begun as a devastating setback transformed into a demonstration of exactly what the program had built. Community. As dawn broke, the kitchen had been cleaned, though the damaged equipment would need replacement. Zara stood in the center of the space, exhausted but moved by the response. Alex approached, offering a cup of coffee. "Thank you," she said, accepting it gratefully. "For everything." "I should be thanking you," he replied. "Look around, Zara. This is what you created. Not just a kitchen, but a community that rallies when it's needed." She followed his gaze, seeing the diverse group of people working together, the formerly homeless veteran directing volunteers, Whitfield executives in expensive clothes scrubbing floors alongside community members, all united by a common purpose. "We created this," she corrected gently. "Together." The moment was interrupted by Ethan's arrival, his expression grim despite the progress around them. "We know who did this," he said without preamble, showing them his tablet. Security footage from across the street caught them leaving. The grainy image showed Chef Donovan and two others exiting the alley behind the kitchen, looking over their shoulders furtively. "He's escalating," Alex observed. "First sabotage, now vandalism." "It's personal for him," Zara said, understanding dawning. "This isn't just about me anymore. It's about what this program represents. A different way of seeing people, a different kind of success than the one he values." "We'll press charges," Alex began, but Zara shook her head. "That won't solve the underlying problem," she said thoughtfully. "We need something more transformative." Later that day, as the community kitchen prepared to reopen for dinner service with borrowed equipment and donated supplies, Zara implemented her plan. With Alex's support, she invited local media to document not just the vandalism, but the community's response to it. "This kitchen was vandalized last night," she told the assembled reporters, cameras capturing her words. "Someone tried to send a message that people in need don't deserve dignity or opportunity. But look around you." The cameras panned to show the bustling kitchen, volunteers and program participants working side by side to prepare the evening meal. "This is the real story," Zara continued. "Not destruction, but creation. Not division, but community. We're not just feeding people here. We're nourishing the idea that everyone deserves respect, everyone has value, everyone belongs at the table. Her words resonated beyond the immediate crisis, capturing the essence of what she and Alex had been building together. The coverage spread rapidly, generating an outpouring of support that transformed the vandalism from a setback into a catalyst for growth. Donations poured in, allowing for not just replacement of damaged equipment, but expansion of the program. Corporate partners, moved by the community's resilience, offered additional funding and resources. What Chef Donovan had intended as a devastating blow became the program's defining moment. As for Donovan himself, the public identification of his role in the vandalism destroyed what remained of his reputation. The Golden Spoon's reservations dried up as San Francisco's diners voted with their wallets against his actions. Within months, the restaurant would close, a consequence not of Zara's vengeance, but of his own choices. 6 months after the vandalism, the community kitchen had expanded to 3 locations across San Francisco, each implementing Zara's vision of dignity-centered service and opportunity creation. The culinary training program boasted a 78% job placement rate, transforming lives through skills development and mentorship. Jamal had returned from his summer program at Berkeley with a full scholarship offer for when he graduated high school. His scientific brilliance recognized and nurtured by professors who saw his potential. The stability Zara had fought so hard to provide had become the foundation for his soaring success. Marcus now directed the outreach program, his military experience and street knowledge making him uniquely qualified to bridge worlds that rarely intersected. The man who had once been invisible to most of society now spoke at conferences about homelessness solutions, his dignity and wisdom commanding respect in rooms filled with power brokers and policymakers. And Zara herself had grown into her role, no longer the uncertain line cook thrust into corporate leadership, but a confident program director whose vision was reshaping how San Francisco addressed food insecurity and economic opportunity. Through it all, her relationship with Alex had evolved, the professional boundaries gradually softening as they worked side by side, their shared passion for the program creating a bond that transcended their different backgrounds. The attraction that had simmered between them from the beginning remained, complicated by their professional relationship, but impossible to ignore. On the 1-year anniversary of the program's launch, Whitfield Innovations hosted a celebration at the original community kitchen. The space had been transformed from its humble beginnings into a model facility, while still maintaining the warmth and dignity Zara had insisted upon from the start. As community members, program participants, corporate partners, and media filled the room, Alex took the stage to address the gathering. A year ago, this program began with a simple observation, he said, his gaze finding Zara in the crowd. That one person, choosing kindness when it wasn't convenient or profitable, could create ripples of change far beyond their immediate action. He gestured to the bustling kitchen visible through glass partitions, where program participants prepared the evening's meal under the guidance of professional chefs. What Zara Johnson started by sharing leftover food with those in need has grown into something that has changed hundreds of lives, including my own. The personal admission caused a stir in the room. Alex Whitfield rarely spoke about himself, particularly not in emotional terms. This program has taught all of us, that true innovation isn't just about technology or profit margins. It's about seeing problems differently, about recognizing the humanity in each person, about building bridges between worlds that too often remain separate. He invited Zara to join him on stage, his eyes conveying a depth of feeling that went beyond professional admiration. None of this would exist without your courage, your compassion, and your stubborn refusal to accept that things can't change, he told her, the microphone carrying his words to the room, but his gaze making it feel like a private conversation. You've transformed not just this community, but Whitfield Innovations itself. You've reminded us of our purpose beyond profit. Zara accepted the microphone, momentarily overwhelmed by the journey that had brought her to this point. A year ago, I was a line cook trying to help one person at a time, often breaking rules to do it, she began, earning knowing laughter from those familiar with her story. Today, we're changing systems, creating opportunities, and building a community where everyone belongs. She looked out at the faces watching her. Marcus standing tall near the back, Jamal beaming with pride beside him. The program participants whose lives had been transformed, the corporate partners who had learned to see beyond charity to true community investment. The lesson in all of this isn't that one person can change everything, she continued. It's that when we recognize the dignity and potential in each person, when we build bridges instead of walls, when we share our table instead of guarding it, that's when transformation happens. She turned to Alex, acknowledging what they'd built together. This program works because it combines resources with respect, opportunity with dignity. Because it recognizes that true change happens when we stop seeing people as problems to be solved and start seeing them as partners in creating solutions. The celebration continued into the evening, the community kitchen doing what it was designed to do, bringing people together across differences, nourishing both bodies and connections. As the event wound down, Zara found herself on the rooftop garden they'd added during the expansion, taking a moment of quiet amid the herbs and vegetables grown for the kitchen below. Alex joined her there, loosening his tie as he stepped into the peaceful space. "Hiding from your admirers?" he asked with a small smile. "Just catching my breath," she replied. "It's been quite a year." "It has." He moved to stand beside her at the railing, the San Francisco skyline spread before them, lights twinkling against the darkening sky. "I've been thinking about what you said that night in your office, before the vandalism interrupted us." Zara's heart quickened at the memory. "Which part?" "About not wanting to be another project for me to fix or save." His green eyes held her steadily. "You were right to question my motives then. I did have a pattern of seeing problems and trying to solve them, of keeping a safe distance while doing so. And now?" she asked quietly. "Now I understand the difference between fixing and partnering, between saving and supporting." He took a step closer. "You taught me that, Zara. You in this program." The honesty in his voice touched her deeply. "We've both changed this year." "We have," he agreed. "Which is why I think it's time to address what's been growing between us, not as CEO and program director, not as benefactor and recipient, but as two people who see each other clearly and value what they see." The professional boundaries they'd maintained for a year seemed to dissolve in the quiet garden, leaving just Alex and Zara, a man and a woman drawn together by shared purpose and mutual respect that had deepened into something more. "I care about you, Zara," he said simply. "Beyond the program, beyond Whitfield Innovations, I care about who you are, how you see the world, the way you fight for what matters." The vulnerability in his admission matched her own feelings. The attraction that had begun with their first meeting had evolved into something deeper, something built on shared values and mutual growth. "I care about you too," she replied, finally giving voice to what had remained unspoken for so long. "But our worlds are still very different, Alex. You're you, and I'm still figuring out who I am beyond the kitchen, beyond survival mode." "Maybe that's exactly why this works," he suggested, taking her hand gently. "We bring different perspectives, different experiences. We challenge each other to see beyond our own limitations." As the city lights twinkled below them and the herbs released their fragrance in the evening air, Zara recognized the truth in his words. Their differences weren't obstacles, but strengths, creating a partnership that was stronger, precisely because they came from different worlds, but shared the same core values. "So what happens now?" she asked, echoing the question she'd posed in her office months before. "Now we write the next chapter," Alex replied, his fingers intertwining with hers. "Together, not as a project or a solution, but as partners." In that moment, on a rooftop garden built above a kitchen that had once been vandalized, Zara Johnson, former line cook, current program director, eternal fighter for dignity and opportunity, made another choice to step through a door that opportunity had opened. Not because it was safe or certain, but because it offered the chance to build something meaningful with someone who truly saw her. As Alex drew her closer, their first kiss felt like the culmination of a journey neither had expected to take. From that first night in the alley behind the Golden Spoon, to this rooftop overlooking the city they were helping to transform. One meal, one opportunity, one connection at a time. Below them, the community kitchen continued its work, a testament to what could be built when people recognized the dignity in each other and chose to create rather than destroy, to connect rather than divide, to share rather than hoard. In its success lay the lesson that had brought them together and would carry them forward, that the most powerful change happens not through grand gestures or technological innovations, but through simple human connections, made with respect and sustained with love. For Zara and Alex, for Marcus and Jamal, for the community they'd built together, that lesson would continue to guide them, not as an ending, but as the foundation for whatever came next. 2 years later, the San Francisco Chronicle ran a feature story titled "From Line Cook to Community Leader: How Zara Johnson Transformed Food Security in the Bay Area." The accompanying photo showed Zara standing in the central kitchen of what was now called the Dignity Network, a coalition of 5 community kitchens, 3 culinary training centers, and a food recovery program that spanned the entire Bay Area. The journalist had shadowed Zara for a day, observing as she moved between board meetings and cooking classes, policy discussions, and community meals. The resulting article captured not just the program's impressive statistics, thousands served, hundreds trained and employed, millions in economic impact, but the philosophy that made it unique. The secret ingredient isn't the food, Zara had explained as she guided a formerly homeless veteran through a complex cooking technique. It's dignity. When you treat people with respect, when you recognize their inherent value, that's when transformation happens. In the 2 years since the vandalism that had nearly destroyed the original kitchen, the Dignity Network had become a model studied by cities across the country. What had begun as Alex Whitfield's passion project was now an integral part of Whitfield Innovation's identity, with a dedicated division and substantial funding. Jamal, now in his first year at Berkeley on a full scholarship, had developed a sustainable food storage technology that extended shelf life without refrigeration, an innovation that the Dignity Network was already implementing in communities with limited resources. At 17, he was the youngest intern ever accepted at Whitfield's research division, his brilliant mind nurtured by mentors who recognized his potential. Marcus Washington had testified before Congress on homelessness solutions, his dignified presence and practical wisdom commanding respect from legislators on both sides of the aisle. The man who had once been invisible to society now shaped policy that would impact thousands like him. And Alex and Zara had found their way forward together, their personal relationship deepening alongside their professional partnership. The skeptics who had initially dismissed their connection as inappropriate or temporary had been silenced by time and by the evident respect and balance between them. On a warm Saturday afternoon, they gathered in the rooftop garden of the original community kitchen. Zara and Alex, Jamal and Marcus, along with the core team that had built the Dignity Network from its humble beginnings. The garden had expanded to cover the entire roof, producing vegetables and herbs for the kitchen below, while providing a peaceful retreat above the city streets. To 2 years of dignity, opportunity, and really good food, Alex toasted, raising his glass as the group sat around a harvest table built by program participants. And to many more, Zara added, her free hand finding his beneath the table. As the conversation flowed around them, Jamal explaining his latest innovation to an enthralled audience, Marcus discussing the new veteran-focused housing program, Alex leaned closer to Zara. "I have something to show you later," he said quietly. "A new project I've been working on." She raised an eyebrow, familiar with his tendency to pursue new ideas with intense focus. "Another expansion?" "Something different," he replied with a mysterious smile. "Something more personal." Later, as the gathering wound down, Alex led Zara to his car, not the sleek luxury vehicle he'd driven when they first met, but a more practical electric model that reflected his evolving priorities. "Where are we going?" she asked as they drove across the city. "You'll see." 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a familiar building, the Golden Spoon, which had stood empty since Chef Donovan's downfall. The once prestigious restaurant had fallen into disrepair, its windows papered over, its sign faded. "Why are we here?" Zara asked, confused by the detour to a place that held difficult memories. Alex handed her a set of keys. "It's yours, if you want it." She stared at him, uncomprehending. "The Golden Spoon? Why would I want this place?" "Not the Golden Spoon," he clarified. "Whatever you want it to be. I bought the building last month. The location is perfect for either another Dignity Network site or," he hesitated, watching her reaction carefully, "that restaurant you dreamed of opening before life took you in a different direction." Zara was speechless, the keys heavy in her palm. Before their grandmother died, before the medical debt and responsibility for Jamal had changed her path, she had dreamed of her own restaurant, a place that would honor her culinary training while making exceptional food accessible to more than just the wealthy elite. "I don't understand," she said finally. "The Dignity Network needs me. I can't just—" "You've built an incredible team," Alex interrupted gently. "The network will continue to thrive with you in an advisory role. This would be something for you, a dream deferred, not abandoned." He took her hand, his expression earnest. "You've given so much to others, Zara, created opportunities for hundreds of people. Maybe it's time to reclaim one of your own dreams, too." Tears pricked at her eyes as she realized what he was offering, not just a building, but permission to pursue the passion that had been set aside in service to others. The chance to create something that was hers alone, separate from the Dignity Network, separate from Whitfield Innovations. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to decide now," he assured her. "The building isn't going anywhere. Just think about it. About what you want your next chapter to be." As they stood before the empty restaurant, Zara felt possibilities unfurling before her, not replacing what she'd built with the Dignity Network, but expanding her vision to include her own dreams alongside the community's needs. "I never thought I'd have this choice again," she admitted, turning the keys over in her hand. "After Grandma Rose died, after the debt, I thought that dream was over." "Dreams don't die," Alex said softly. "They just wait for the right time to grow again." 6 months later, the building's transformation was complete. The sign above the door read simply, "Roses," a tribute to the grandmother who had raised Zara and instilled in her both culinary passion and unwavering integrity. The concept was unlike anything San Francisco had seen before. A restaurant where exceptional cuisine was served in 2 distinct spaces. The main dining room offered a traditional fine dining experience, while a connected community space provided the same quality food at accessible prices through an innovative sliding scale model. Profits from the former subsidized the latter, creating a sustainable approach to culinary inclusivity. The kitchen staff included graduates from the Dignity Network's culinary program, working alongside experienced chefs, creating a unique blend of perspectives and techniques. The menu changed seasonally, reflecting both Zara's classical training and the diverse influences of her team. On opening night, the restaurant hummed with energy as both spaces filled with diners, wealthy tech executives and neighborhood families, food critics and community members, all experiencing the same exceptional cuisine, regardless of what they could afford to pay. In the kitchen, Zara moved with confident precision, directing her team with the same combination of high standards and genuine respect that had defined her leadership at the Dignity Network. The difference was in her expression, a joy that came from reclaiming her first love, the culinary creativity that had been temporarily set aside but never forgotten. Alex watched from the pass, pride evident in his features as he observed her in her element. Their journey together had evolved in ways neither could have predicted that night behind the Golden Spoon. From reluctant business associates to partners in both work and life, challenging and supporting each other through obstacles and opportunities alike. As the last dishes of the night were served, Zara joined him at a small table in the corner of the kitchen, exhausted but exhilarated by the successful launch. "Happy?" he asked, already knowing the answer from the light in her eyes. "Beyond words," she replied, looking around at what they'd created. Not just roses, but everything that had led to this moment. The Dignity Network continuing its vital work across the city. Jamal thriving at Berkeley, his innovations already changing lives. Marcus leading policy discussions that would reshape approaches to homelessness nationwide. And now this, A restaurant that honored her culinary passion while embodying the same principles of dignity and accessibility that had guided her work from the beginning. "You know what I realized tonight?" she said, taking Alex's hand across the table. "That line cook who was sneaking food to Marcus 2 years ago, she wasn't just trying to help one person. She was searching for a way to make things right in a world that often feels wrong. To create balance where there was inequity. She found it," Alex replied softly, "and helped others find it too." As they sat in the quiet kitchen, the lessons of their journey seemed distilled into this moment. That true success isn't measured in wealth or status, but in lives touched and systems changed. That dignity is not a luxury, but a necessity. That bridges between different worlds creates strength rather than weakness. And perhaps most importantly, that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply to see another person fully, to recognize their inherent value, and to share what you have, whether it's leftover food from a high-end restaurant or the resources of a tech empire, not as charity, but as an acknowledgement of our common humanity. For Zara Johnson, former line cook and current visionary, and for Alex Whitfield, the tech innovator who had learned to see beyond systems to the people within them, that lesson would continue to guide their path forward, together, creating ripples of change that would extend far beyond what either could have accomplished alone. Outside Roses, the lights of San Francisco twinkled against the night sky, a city still filled with contrasts and contradictions, with wealth and poverty side by side. But within those contrasts now existed new possibilities. Community kitchens serving meals with dignity, training programs creating pathways to opportunity, and a restaurant where exceptional food brought people together across differences. It wasn't a perfect solution to society's deep inequities, but it was a start, a model of what could happen when people refused to accept that things couldn't change, when they recognized the power of small acts of kindness to grow into movements for transformation. And in that recognition lay the heart of their story. Not an ending, but a continuing journey of growth, challenge, and possibility. For Zara and Alex, for the communities they served, and for all those who would be inspired by their example, the most important chapters remained unwritten, waiting to unfold, one meal, one opportunity, one connection at a time.